Leo, this is your tarot reading for the month of May. Like everybody else's during May, I don't think that we should take it completely at face value. It's important to me because I am a Leo. I think it's going to be quite eventful. I mean, this year so far has been, because you look top right, you're needing to take a rest, and it looks like a well-earned rest if you ask me. You have been seeking something out, haven't you? You've been seeking out information. But I think more than simply information that you can act on. Well, you are going to get it, and that runs through this entire reading. In the past, you certainly felt like you were blessed with material wealth, if you like, benefits, but maybe felt somewhat alone. Right now, and I can identify with this, you are restricting yourself, restricting what you do. Why I'm confident about this reading is in the future we have this sort of divine love partnership. And I believe that means that the future is going to herald a time of cooperation, a time of love, a time of listening to our hearts more. What leads to the outcome is there is more change coming for you. More changes. I mean, last month was a month of great change. Even more is coming now. And just as last month there was luck with these changes, there will be luck with it. One of the reasons why you get so tired, I think, is you are prone to worrying. You worry about the unknown. I think you worry about money a bit, I can appreciate that. I mean, I think we all are somewhat. You're worried about the unknown. You really don't know, what the future's going to bring, and not naturally you're somewhat worried. And I think that combined with all the changes does tire you, and you need to take a rest, and you should take a rest. So let's look at all of these individually for you, Leo. Now you are searching for answers, searching for enlightenment. I think if you're like me, it goes beyond simply wanting information. It is information on how to act. I'm feeling a great calling to lead. I feel like I've got a grasp of things and I need to help others and lead. But stuck up a remote mountain in Java, I've no idea how I should do it. So it's sort of you're seeking not only information, but how you can act with that information. A course of action, and that is coming to you. It is coming to you in this May. I'm not certain it's quite what you'd be expecting or when you expect it, but it is going to come to you. And that does reflect on all the other energies that we're going to describe. Now in the past, and this should mean the recent past, but it makes more sense being further back for me, but in the past, I think many of your material needs were taken care of. There was a degree of security, maybe it's talking about security, but to a certain degree you were alone. Now, for me, that goes back a long time, feeling like that. But maybe over the recent past, I've been secure in my family unit, certainly not alone. Secure in that, and whilst money hasn't been abundant, I've known what money I've had and known what I could afford, and, I've had to live quite frugally. But there's certain comfort in that, in knowing what you have and what you can do, and certain comfort, that you've got your family and what have you. And I think that change is coming, and even that might change. And you're self-restricting yourself. You're restricting what you should do. I certainly have been. I since I arrived in Indonesia, I've not been allowed to work or conduct business. And, I know many people that have been deported for doing exactly that. And I've not wanted to risk, everything I own and my family, which, I'd lose a lot if I was deported. And, whilst money's been tight, I've had enough to live on. That's the security I'm talking about. But I went out last Friday and I met a number of fellow Brits. They just happened to be there. I didn't go out to meet them. But speaking to them, they're all working. And, I wonder if I've overreacted. I mean, I've known, I have known people who've been deported, don't get me wrong. And I suppose the other thing is, the only Brits you're likely to see, I don't suppose there's many like me that would have been here for 12 years and not earned a penny, So, the ones that you're likely to meet will be earning money. So it's not a representative sample by any stretch of the imagination. But have I been overcautious? Well, I think the cards are saying yes, I probably have been. In the future, we have this sort of love, divine love. I think we might be talking not so much of love as a partnership here, because I think this could be about, I don't like to say money because of, with CDCs, who knows how much longer we're going to have money. But it could be about, your material benefits, as it were. And I think you're going to meet somebody that you're going to partner with, and you'll just click like that. It'll work so well. And that's going to open the door to so much for you. That doesn't happen in May. This is after May. Now, you've been through a lot of change, and there's a lot more change coming, and I think we're entering a period of sort of constant change until we fully accept the changes, both within ourselves and within society. And so we do have more change here, but that change should bring about some good luck as well. So, just embrace the change. Don't fight it. There's more change coming. And, I'm sort of... 7 weeks ago, I decided to start sort of the process of claiming my pensions. And I've got nowhere so far, That's my experience of dealing with such things, They don't seem to have got anything like the time scale that normal human beings would have, I mean, I'm not even allowed to claim my, start the process until May for my state pension. And I know there's no hope in hell that it will be ready in time if I start in May, but that's the process, so that's what I've got to deal with, So, there are going to be a lot of frustrations for me, but I can feel deeply that everything's going to be all right, They won't go according to plan, but, I can just feel, don't worry, everything's going to sort itself out. And I think that's the message from this. And not unnaturally, at times of change, you fear of the unknown. I mean, it's no good pretending, I'm saying you've got to embrace change, and, you'll find probably influencers on this platform saying, I'm not fearful of change, you have to embrace it, and they're lying. We're all fearful of change. It's not letting it get to you, really, and seeing change as positive. But we're all fearful of it, and You are, and there's a warning here not to let it get to you too much, I think. You've really no idea what the future's going to bring. I'm not certain I've told you. I've said I'm applying for my pension, but basically one of the problems I've got in applying for my pension is Royal Bank of Scotland closed my British bank account. Never told me why. I promise you I've never been involved in right-wing politics, though. Absolutely not. So they closed my British bank account. And I'm realising I'm going to lose tens of thousands of dollars as a result of it, And I'm taking it quite stoically. Partially because there's not a bloody thing I can do about it, But the other thing is I just have this confidence that everything's going to work out. So swings and roundabouts, if you like, and I think that's the attitude you need to have. And the ending, well, I'm not surprised. You're tired out, you need a rest. And it's a well-earned rest, I would say. A very well-earned rest. And why shouldn't you rest, Change is exhausting, I put a lot of time into trying to claim these pensions. As I say, I'm getting nowhere. A lot of time, but it's more the mental energy, thinking, is this going to work? Is that going to work? And it tires you out. One of the things they said, they needed a wet signature. Well, for some reason, I can't use the post office in Indonesia, so to actually send a letter cost me $100 by courier. Well, anyway, they would accept a photocopied wet signature or a photograph of a wet signature. But then they said, well, it's not printed out right, or the photo's not clear. Well, the photo was clear because the print didn't come out right. And then I realised, ultimately, this took hours to realise this, that I'd been sent a form in A4, and in Indonesia we use the American letter size. So it had cut off the bottom of it. So I had to reformat the form. Now, I think a lot of people wouldn't have even realised that, and they'd have just given up. And it is exhausting. It is exhausting. So these things do take their toll on you, and you do need to rest, Leo. Now, I am going to get clarity on this moon card, on what are you fearful of, and it doesn't come as any surprise. You're fearful about money. I think you're fearful, have I got enough? You're being cautious, and, well, I'm very cautious, Despite that, you're actually fairly sophisticated with money. You know what you're doing. But I think because you know what you're doing, you just think, well, it's all a bit of a scam, to be honest, If Royal Bank of Scotland can close my bank account after 35 years, what can I be certain of? How can I plan, And they're asking you to dump your baggage and move on. And I think in my case, they're saying dump the UK. Forget about anything to do with the UK. Bring your money to Indonesia and look after it from there. Because you're always going to have problems with the UK, such as the A4 formatting, You're always going to have problems. So the sooner you can get your money into Indonesia, the better. I think that's what it's telling me. Let's look at each individually anyway. Now, I think if you're like me, you are careful with money. You certainly don't spend money that you don't have. But I think that leads you to worry unduly about money. Being careful is one thing, but worrying about it is another. I don't think you are a miser, but the other side of this is being miserly. I don't think you are. If you are, you're miserly with yourself. You're not miserly with others. You're generous with others, but you can be a bit miserly with yourself, If there's a pot of money there, your instinct is not to touch it. And I think you do worry about it. That does cause a degree of worry. You're actually quite sophisticated when it comes to money. You do know what you're doing, if the truth be known. And I think that also causes you worry. And I can only explain it in reference to myself and these pensions, I think because of Royal Bank of Scotland, what they've done, and indeed what I'm being told is the best thing to do in the cards here, I'm going to have to bring big lump sums over to Indonesia rather than leave anything in the UK. Because it's just getting too difficult to move money around, And so, okay, that makes sense, to be honest, because of with the cost of moving money, so transfer costs, and massive exchange rate fluctuations, I'm better off having my money in Indonesia than in the UK. Whatever you think about the UK economy and the sophisticated nature of investors in the UK, whatever your views might be of it, and whatever gains I might make on my money in the UK, they can be wiped out completely by exchange rate fluctuations and bank charges. So it makes a lot of sense to bring it here. But certainly financial advisors aren't regulated here. So, I mean, Indonesia is it's home to armies of expats who rip off other expats. Do I trust my bank? Not really, not really. I mean, every year we've just had Eid, or Lebanon as we call it, and we give children little envelopes with little bits of money in it, and the money has to be new notes. Well, every year it gets more and more difficult to get hold of these new notes. And my bank in particular, which is a state-owned bank, it's always been difficult to get it. Well, why would it be difficult? Well, the managers are selling off the new notes to the criminal underworld, to be perfectly honest. So their little bonus for Lebanon, which is like our Christmas, is to take the money that should be going to their customers to be using to pay children, act of generosity towards children. They're making their money off that. They're taking a bonus, as it were, from that. I mean, it's disgusting, isn't it? It's disgusting, it's corruption at the worst type of corruption possible. So can you trust a bank like that when you know the management are like it, So yeah, I'm somewhat sophisticated, and because I'm sophisticated, I don't really trust anybody. That's my fear, isn't it? Yeah. I said I was getting some advice in this reading, and I am, The advice is to move on and dump baggage. And so this is your advice, Leo. It's advice to all Leos. And so if you want to get rid of this fear, just move on. Just forget about the past. Forget about what Royal Bank of Scotland have done to you, 35 years a customer, I still hate them. But forget it, dump the baggage. It's not doing you any good, No, bring your money into Indonesia and deal with it that way. And once you can dump that, you no longer have this fear, and then you can allow more blessings to come into your life. And that really is the message. Leo, an interesting reading for May. Normally I'd say it's about money, but, can we even talk of money with CDCs and all that's going on? let's say it's about wealth, it's about material things, it's about you securing your comfort. And certainly in the past you felt comfortable, but maybe somewhat insular, somewhat alone. And is this about embracing a more communal view of it? I'm not sure that it is. I'm not sure about that. You've certainly been restricting yourself and restricting what you're doing. Probably that means that you've been a little bit miserly with yourself, restricting what you're doing with your wealth as well. Well, change is coming, and with that change comes luck. And in fact, there's been so much change, it's going to wear you out. And do take a rest. Do take a rest. After May, you're going to enter, I think, a partnership with someone, which is going to bring great wealth to you. Well, that's what I suspect is happening. But you've been a bit fearful about money, and you've got to dump these fears. You really have. Because the new wealth won't come to you if you've got these fears. As I say, to call you miserly, well, no, you're a generous soul, Leo. Leos are generous, you know. I think you're a bit miserly with yourself at times. You do worry about money a bit. And, you know, the truth is you're quite sophisticated with money. You know what you're doing. So these worries aren't unfounded. They come from a place of knowing, to be perfectly honest. But what you should also know is there's bugger all you can do, you know. So worry is a prayer for things to go wrong. So even though, you know that a good many things might go wrong, there's no point in worrying about it, because they will. You know, there's nothing you can really do about any of it. There is a bit of a word of advice from the universe, or Allah, or God, and that is to move on. And I think that is to forget about the financial problems of the past and just embrace the new. Dump the baggage, don't worry about it. Because there is a new world coming, and I think there is new wealth coming in the broadest possible sense.